Welcome, dear listener. Tonight, we float not through time as we usually do, but through myth, memory, and mystery. Let your mind soften. Let your breath grow calm. Let the world outside your window fade into a sea of dreams. Because tonight, we dive deep beneath the surface of known history and into a legend that has fascinated humankind for over 2,000 years. A legend whispered by firelight. A story that begins with Plato. The year is around 360 BCE, and the great philosopher is nearing the end of his life. He has already gifted the world with many of his most famous works, the Republic, the Apology, Phaedrus, and more. But now, in the twilight of his years, Plato begins to dream of something more ancient than Athens, older than Egypt, and perhaps greater than any real empire. This dream takes the form of two philosophical dialogues, Timaeus and Critias. These texts, dry to some, profound to others, are where we hear the first recorded mention of a place called Atlantis. Not a fairy tale, not a bedtime story, but a historical account, or so Plato claimed, passed down from Egyptian priests to a Greek lawgiver named Solon, then to Plato's relative Critias, and finally to the world. Plato did not write of Atlantis as a land of mermaids or magic. No, he wrote of a real empire, vast and powerful, ruled by kings descended from the god Poseidon. The tale begins with a conversation in Timaeus, where Socrates, Critias, Timaeus, and Hermocrates discuss the ideal society. Critias interrupts with a tale not invented, but true, which his grandfather told him, which his own great-grandfather, the lawmaker Solon, had learned during his travels to Egypt. According to the priests of Ses, Egypt was an old land, older than Greece, older than nearly all civilizations, and they had preserved the stories of times long forgotten. In their records, they told of a mighty island nation located beyond the Pillars of Heracles, what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar. This land, called Atlantis, was larger than Libya and Asia combined, and it was home to a great and wealthy civilization. The people of Atlantis were said to be brave and virtuous. At first, the capital of Atlantis, as Plato described it, was unlike anything in the known world. It was built in a series of concentric rings, alternating water and land, forming a circular pattern of harbors, canals, and walls. Bridges connected the rings, and towers rose high over the shining city. Temples glistened with gold and orichalcum, a mysterious metal, brighter than bronze. Public baths were fed by both hot and cold springs. Gardens bloomed, armies trained, ships filled the harbors, and in the very center stood a temple to Poseidon, their divine founder. Poseidon had fallen in love with a mortal woman named Cleito, and together they bore 5 sets of twin sons. The eldest, Atlas, became king, and from him the land took its name, Atlantis. The Atlanteans grew powerful, expanding their domain across the seas. They conquered islands, spread influence over parts of North Africa and Europe, and sought even to rule Athens. But something changed. Plato said that, over time, the Atlanteans lost their virtue. As their power grew, so did their arrogance. Their divine nature dimmed, clouded by greed and pride. They no longer honored justice or moderation. Their hearts, once noble, became corrupted. And so, the gods convened. Plato never completed the Critias dialogue, but before it ends, we learn that Zeus, king of the gods, resolved to punish Atlantis. In a single night of earthquakes and floods, the once great civilization was swallowed by the sea. Gone, lost forever beneath the waves. And that is the tale of Atlantis. But what did Plato mean by it? Was it a historical record? A parable? A metaphor? Many scholars believe that Atlantis was a philosophical allegory, a cautionary tale of a society that lost its way, a mirror for the hubris of Athens, or perhaps a model for Plato's ideal state, but turned upside down. Atlantis may have been fictional, yes. But unlike other myths, Plato gave Atlantis a date some 9,000 years before Solon's time and a location beyond the Pillars of Heracles. He described its people, its government, its geography, and its downfall with stunning detail. Too much detail, some say, for mere fiction. This is why, for centuries to follow, people would ask, what if Atlantis was real? Close your eyes, dear listener. Imagine Plato himself, an old man, sitting in a shaded courtyard, scrolls beside him as he reflects on everything he has learned. He gazes at the sea. Did he believe the story? Or did he simply know that some truths live best inside stories? Whether myth or memory, fable or fact, the legend of Atlantis would outlive Plato. It would travel across oceans and centuries, passed from thinker to dreamer, from mystic to explorer. And it begins right here in these pages, in these calm, careful words written long ago in ancient Athens. Let your breath grow soft. Let the image of a golden island shimmer on the horizon. And let us now journey deeper into the very heart of Atlantis. Welcome, dear dreamer, to another quiet chapter of our sleepy voyage. Let your body grow heavier with each breath as we gently drift deeper into the ancient sea of memory and myth. The waves are calm tonight. The stars shine softly above, and the moon's reflection glimmers like silver threads across the water. Before you, rising from the ocean mist, is a city unlike any other. This is Atlantis, a place whispered of in stories for thousands of years, now gently unfolding before your closing eyes. Breathe in slowly and allow yourself to wander. In the heart of the Atlantic, far beyond the Pillars of Hercules, the place we now know as the Strait of Gibraltar, lies a marvel of ancient imagination. The island of Atlantis, Plato tells us, was larger than Libya and Asia combined. But its heart, its shining capital, is where we arrive tonight. Picture this, a circular city designed in perfect concentric rings. 3 rings of water, 2 of land. Bridges span across the channels, leading to a majestic central island. The outermost ring holds bustling ports, grand ships, and merchants from across the ancient world. The scent of spices and salt water lingers in the air. The architecture here is unlike anything we know. Great temples of black, red, and white stone rise into the sky. Towering columns support polished domes, and gold glints from rooftops under the warm sun. Canals shimmer with fresh water that flows from distant mountains. Gardens bloom with strange and beautiful flowers, swaying softly in the breeze. The people of Atlantis walk with grace. Tall, serene, and wise-looking, they are dressed in flowing robes woven with silver threads. Their eyes are calm, observant, and kind. They nod gently as you pass, inviting you to see more. The streets are alive but peaceful. No shouting, no rushing. Only the soft sounds of sandals on polished stone and the occasional whisper of laughter. The air smells of citrus trees, lavender, and warm bread fresh from open ovens. Children play beside fountains carved with dolphins and sea serpents. Artisans chisel marble into flowing shapes. Musicians pluck delicate notes from stringed instruments shaped like shells. And at the heart of it all stands the Temple of Poseidon. This is the sacred center, the spiritual pulse of Atlantis. Made from rare stones and metals, the temple gleams with orichalcum, a mysterious metal, glowing like firelight. Inside, you hear the echoes of prayers and songs offered to the god of the sea. Columns rise like ocean waves, and the great statue of Poseidon himself looms over a golden altar, driving 6 winged horses across the heavens. Legend says this was the birthplace of Atlantis, where Poseidon fell in love with a mortal woman named Plato. To protect her, he created the ringed city, raised from the sea, and their 5 sets of twin sons became the first kings of Atlantis. The city is governed with balance and wisdom. Each region of the island is ruled by a descendant of Poseidon, yet they meet in harmony. Laws are carved on golden pillars, written not in haste or anger, but with care and clarity. Atlantis flourishes not through war, but through understanding. Their knowledge of the stars, the tides, and healing herbs is vast. In quiet stone libraries, scrolls of forgotten wisdom lie peacefully in the glow of oil lamps. As you wander through the inner ring, you come to a quiet garden. The trees here are tall and ancient. Their leaves shimmer like moonlight. A small pool reflects the sky. It is said that here, oracles once sat, seeing visions not of war or wealth, but of peace, growth, and harmony. The people believe in balance between nature and civilization, between the body and the spirit, between knowledge and mystery. And now, as the sun sets gently over the ocean, Atlantis begins to glow. Not with noise or fire, but with soft lantern light, with warmth from hearths and songs from balconies. The whole city hums like a lullaby. Even the sea seems to pause for a moment. You sit by the harbor and feel the sea breeze on your skin. Somewhere, a chime rings slowly. This is Atlantis, not as a warning or a myth of pride and downfall, but as a dream, a vision of what humanity could be. You close your eyes. The stone beneath you is still warm from the day. The voices have faded into whispers. The city breathes with you, slowly and gently. And as the stars bloom in the sky above, Atlantis slips once again into the tides of memory, waiting to rise again when next you dream. Sleep well, traveler. The wonders of Atlantis will be here when you return. Tonight, we drift quietly into a softer kind of ending. Let your body grow still and your breath deepen. The sea is calm once more. The stars overhead shimmer gently like 1,000 quiet thoughts. And below the waves rests a city once full of music, of laughter, and dreams. Tonight, we return to Atlantis. Not as it rose, glorious and golden, but as it quietly began to fade. The fall of Atlantis is not a tale of sudden thunder or angry gods. No, it is the story of time, of change, of imbalance that whispered into every garden, every hallway, every heart. At first, life in Atlantis continued just as it had for generations. The temples still shone in the sunlight. The ports bustled. Scholars studied the stars, and children danced in the misty courtyards. But slowly, ever so slowly, something began to shift. Some say it was the hearts of men that changed, that the kings, once humble and wise, grew proud. Their palaces became larger, their robes more ornate, their decisions less thoughtful. The golden laws, carved long ago in clarity and care, were now read only as symbols, not as living guidance. Debates grew longer. Harmony began to fray. Small disagreements turned into quiet resentments. Even the sea seemed to notice. Currents once familiar now carried strange whispers. Fishermen returned with fewer nets full. The winds shifted. Some crops failed. Some rain didn't fall. But still, life continued. The songs still floated from balconies. The lanterns still glowed. Yet, deep within the island's heart, something ancient stirred. In the mountain that once gave fresh water to the canals, tremors were felt. Just soft ones, like sighs. The oracles in the moonlit garden said nothing at first, but their eyes grew distant, like they were listening to a language only they understood. It is said that one evening, the great statue of Poseidon in the central temple cracked just slightly, a line across the shoulder. No sound, no collapse, just a quiet line, like a whisper from stone. The people of Atlantis, wise as they were, did not ignore these things. They studied them. They listened. They wondered. But some chose to forget. The merchants still built grander ships. The nobles held longer feasts. And the kings, they quarreled. Soon, the once united empire began to divide, not in war, but in silence. Each region governed itself more and more. The central council grew quiet. Temples still lit their fires, but fewer offerings were left. The sacred pools grew still. One night, it is said, the stars above Atlantis changed. A strange alignment. A brilliant red star pulsed in the sky, just above the horizon. The old scholars watched in silence. Some whispered of omens. Others said it was only the natural turning of the heavens. Then came the great sigh. Not a scream, not an explosion, just a sigh. The earth beneath Atlantis trembled gently. The canals rippled. The ships rocked in their harbors. Some buildings shuddered. A few stones fell, but nothing collapsed. Not yet. The people gathered in the central plaza, holding hands, lighting candles, singing the oldest songs from before Atlantis was even named. And for a moment, it seemed like the city might heal, but the trembling came again, stronger this time. The sea pulled away from the shore, slowly, like a breath drawn deep. The sky turned a muted gray. The clouds formed perfect circles, mirroring the rings of the city. And then the sea returned, not with fury, but with weight. Water filled the canals, then spilled over the rings. Bridges broke. Towers tilted. Gardens vanished beneath waves. Temples darkened. The golden domes disappeared beneath the rising tide. And in the heart of the city, where Poseidon's statue once stood, the earth opened. Not with fire, but with silence. A great, quiet crack in the stone. A place for Atlantis to sleep. And so, the city sank. Not in one night, as many tell. Not in anger, but in gentle collapse. Over days, perhaps weeks, perhaps years. Some fled, some stayed. Some whispered prayers as the water reached their ankles, their knees, their hearts. And some simply watched as the towers became reefs, as the plazas became currents, as the songs became echoes beneath the waves. In this still moment between dream and sleep, you see it again. Atlantis, quiet beneath the sea, not lost, not broken, just resting. Its people, their stories, their dreams, gently drifting, waiting. The city is not gone. It is transformed. In the minds of dreamers, in the words of poets, in the quiet corners of the ocean floor, it lives on. A lesson, a lullaby. The fall of Atlantis reminds us that even the brightest lights can dim, that even the greatest wisdom must be tended like a flame. But it also tells us that nothing beautiful is ever truly lost, only changed. So close your eyes now. Let the waves carry you. Let the soft collapse of Atlantis lull you to sleep. The stars still shine. The sea still sings. And Atlantis dreams with you. Sleep well, traveler. We will return again. Tonight, let us float not through time, but through memory. Through whispers passed from tongue to tongue, generation after generation, across mountains, deserts, oceans, and centuries. Atlantis is no longer just a city. It is an idea, echoing gently through the world. So find your stillness, settle in, and drift with me into the legend. After the waters rose, after the towers fell, and the domes disappeared beneath the surface, silence took Atlantis, but not for long. Sailors in distant ports whispered tales of a sunken empire. Merchants swore they'd seen marble columns beneath the waves. Fishermen told stories of music faint, far away, carried in the tides. It didn't take long before the stories took on a life of their own. In Greece, a philosopher named Plato wrote of Atlantis. He said it had been told to his ancestor Solon by Egyptian priests who read it from stone records older than memory. Atlantis, they said, had been a mighty island beyond the Pillars of Hercules, the place we now call the Strait of Gibraltar. He described a city in perfect circles, grand temples, great armies, unmatched knowledge, and he said it had fallen. In a single day and night of misfortune, many read Plato's words as myth, some as warning, and some as a map. For centuries after, seekers began to search, not just for ruins or treasure, but for meaning. They asked, what caused the fall? Pride? Hubris? Disconnection from the divine? Or perhaps they wondered Atlantis had never existed at all. Perhaps it was only a mirror, a reflection of our greatest hopes and our deepest fears. But the stories spread through Roman scholars, Arab philosophers, medieval monks, Renaissance explorers. Each culture imagined Atlantis in its own image. Some saw it as a paradise, others a punishment. Some placed it near Spain, others near the Caribbean, some beneath Antarctica. Some said it was part of the lost continent of Lemuria. Others linked it with the Bermuda Triangle. The deeper the ocean of history grew, the more Atlantis drifted from fact and into dream. And still it echoed. In the 1600s, Francis Bacon wrote of the New Atlantis, imagining a land of reason and harmony. In the 1800s, mystics claimed to hear Atlantean voices. In the 1900s, science turned its eyes beneath the waves, scanning the ocean floor for lost structures. Even today, maps are drawn. Documentaries are filmed. Divers descend, hoping to glimpse a stone, a wall, a sign. But maybe, just maybe, Atlantis was never meant to be found in stone. Maybe it was meant to live in story, like a lullaby passed down through ages. A gentle reminder of balance, of listening to nature, of building with care, of humility before the vastness of the sea. Because Atlantis was not just a city. It was a way of life, a vision, a dream. And dreams don't disappear. They evolve. So here we are, dear dreamer, floating between myth and memory. The city of rings is gone, yet here you are, hearing its name. The marble columns are sunken, yet you see them in your mind. The golden temples are drowned, yet their light glows softly in this moment of rest. What remains of Atlantis is not in any museum, not in any book or scan of the ocean floor. It is in you, in all of us, in our questions, in our caution, in our hope that somewhere beyond the known there is something beautiful and lost, waiting to be remembered. Perhaps Atlantis is not a city to find, but a lesson to live, to build wisely, to love gently, to remember always that even greatness must be grounded in grace. So as you rest now, imagine the city once more, not in ruins, but whole, rising again, not from the sea, but from your dreams. You walk its paths, you hear its fountains, you greet its people with warmth, and in this dream, Atlantis is not gone. It is peaceful, it is safe, it is eternal, a city of memory, a lullaby of time. Sleep well now. Let the legend cradle you. Let the waves hush your thoughts. Let Atlantis echo in your dreams. For in dreaming, we keep it alive. And in love, nothing is ever truly lost.